Return to Wisdom is a space where we will explore subjects like relationship, motherhood, and health through a new lens, bring a curious mind and an open heart, and get ready to delve into the deep with your host, Keshia Tonyazzini. Before we get into today's show, I firstly want to thank you for being here. It is because you tune in each week that I'm able to continue on, and I really appreciate your support. Secondly, if you enjoy the content, please head on over to the homepage of the show. Hit subscribe, like, share, and please review the channel. It would mean the world. This is a small way you can contribute to better guests and greater conversations. Now, without further ado, you're listening to Return to Wisdom with Keshia. Welcome, Tahnee, to Return to Wisdom podcast.
Thank you, Keshia.
It's actually very exciting to have you here because you have been my test dummy for podcasts since the inception of the Road to Wisdom podcast. So it's so cool to have you. We've done full circle and now I get to have you back chatting.
I think this is our third
opportunity
to be together. In an awkward interview setting.
No, don't say awkward because we're trying to promote this space. So
this space is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm awkward and I feel like maybe perhaps today you're a tad awkward.
So awkward. I am, look.
Charmingly
awkward. I think that's just like my persona. My charmingly awkward.
Own that.
I will.
Brand that.
I will. Yeah, no, but today we are recording in Pod Byron studio, which is very exciting. And so everyone can see our new fancy set.
It is very fancy. The lights are very large. They look like sunflowers.
So large.
It's a little bit Steiner.
They are.
It's cute.
Just bringing a little Steiner flair. No, but it's really... I don't know. It's like an upgrade. I feel like.
I mean, we were at your kitchen table last time. Or maybe not even. No, we were at the table.
Dining room table.
And I had a little penis mic and now I have a fantastic
setup. You don't have to hold anything.
It's a large mic.
Your P's and T's won't be
very nice
sound.
Yeah, like honey in my ears.
That's just my voice.
Anyway, I really like this. I will crash test dummy.
I'm so glad I have your approval. That's all I want.
You. I'm a professional podcast room analyzer. To be fair, that is not true. Don't take me. Anyway.
All right. Well, I guess the main thing that I would like to start with today is, can birth actually be painless?
Oh, straight into
no warm up. We're raw dogging this.
We are. I like a little bit of a sensual rub first. Okay.
I've gone full masculine. I'm in my full masculine energy right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, because I have done it. And also, I wouldn't have probably believed it when I had my first child. In fact, I remember watching Orgasmic Birth, the movie. Have you seen it?
Yes.
And there's the silent lady who's like, and has her baby. I think it's from that movie. Maybe I'm wrong.
You know what? I've actually seen that in
maybe it's a YouTube
hypnobirthing. Where is she in a pool?
Yeah,
and she's
a glass pool. It's really really.
And is
serene.
there floaties almost holding her up to just
she's
completely
literally just kind of lying there.
And there is an obstetrician there though. But he doesn't touch, just completely
core memory of a woman floating and going and having a baby.
Almost a starfish. And she doesn't, and there's not even a ripple in the water.
And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm doing that. Absolutely no way. But that's actually a very important piece because I literally spellcast that there's no way in hell that was possible for me because I like to make noise and to be dramatic and have full sensations. And, I was like, I actually immediately cut that possibility out of my menu of birthing options the minute I saw that. It didn't expand me. It contracted me. And not that it's its fault. I contracted myself in response to it. I find that really interesting because I did a lot of thinking about that in between my second and third births. So for those who do not know, my third birth was pain-free. My second birth was not pain-free. It was probably the most intense thing I've ever done ever.
Yeah.
In my entire life. And after that I was like, I wonder how much of that was actually birth, because I didn't have that experience the first time. It was painful, but it wasn't like hell. And how much of it was actually me. And I spent like a couple of years really excavating that. So that was really where I came to, was that I had that sort of imprint of reacting against that video that I'd seen wherever I saw it. To be honest, also in the orgasmic birth video, I remember really judging Nassim, whatever, the sacred geometry guy's wife. She's in the hot tub outside.
Mate, I watched that movie so long ago, so I am like,
wait, if you've seen it,
kind of following along
anywhere in the like, I think I saw it 10 years ago, probably at least. But she's in the hot tub outside, and she's like, and I was really triggered by that. I was like,
stop enjoying your birth. What are you doing?
Well, more like, ew, it's like a bit sexual, and it's a bit kind of.
I know, and like babies come out of your sexual places.
I know, weird.
Like, imagine it being a sexual experience.
Imagine it being pleasurable,
That would
because
be
the way
awful.
you have sex, it's actually pleasurable. Yeah, it was. And again, I recognize my shit in that, and not her. Like fully respect her for being able to not need to go through the 10-year journey I had to go through. But yeah, I remember also feeling quite judgmental and like a little bit put off by that, and being like, oh, that's not what I know birth to be, And again, that's a lot to do with my upbringing. My mum had natural births but painful births, and was very proud of her ability to like fight and conquer birth, and that was very much a narrative that I like kind of looked up to, I think. And then, my own kind of journey of like going through the crazy birth with my second child. And then I did a year with Jane Hardwick-Collins, who I know she does this shamanic woman craft course, which we did for a year. And I kept watching myself choose the hardest possible. For example, I did it with a 6-week-old baby. I was like, that's funny. Like I booked it 4 years earlier, and because of COVID, it kept getting postponed. Mm-hmm. And when it finally came up, I had the option not to do it, but I wanted to do it with Jane, and it was her last training. So I was like, I am going to do it with a baby, even though it's going to be really hard. And then I remember being up at like 3 a.m. trying to build a bloody drum with my screaming newborn 6 weeks old next to me, and Jane being like, you could go to bed. And I was like, no, I will make the drum. And Jane is like, or you could go to bed. And I was like, no. And eventually Jane was like, you could go to bed and I could finish your drum. And I was like, okay, that'd be really great. And like, but it took 3 asks from the boss witch for me to like succumb to common sense. And that's kind of what I really started to look at. I was like, man, I want to do vision quest with a baby. I wanted to do, like, I was willing to do the hardest, stupidest things to make. For why? Why was I willing to do that, And
well, because you can. And here's the thing. This is something that like is circulating. No, but it is. It's like it's circulating a lot, I think, with the whole, and just to take this to a whole nother not birth situation, but like the traditional masculine and feminine and roles and all of this stuff, like and feminism and, this. And I don't know what your upbringing was, but I definitely got the program, the feministic program of we are boss bitches and we can do everything a man can do. And so
plus some.
So while we're doing everything a woman is required to do, and it's really like it's like for me a programming that I'm looking at, and I haven't undone it, but I think it comes in handy in some,
there's a thread.
Yeah.
We're unraveling it.
But I am looking at that and I'm like, oh, maybe this is a lot of where you see women pushing where they when they shouldn't be, but they do it because we have the capability, but what's the trade-off there?
At what cost?
Yeah. So what are we future us sacrificing to push real hard now. And I mean, there's some beauty in that. There's some you can do really great things there, but also thinking of future me, who I'm starting to live future me, and she's tired. she's really tired.
She wants to lie down.
she needs a nap, and she's still fighting. She's still pushing, but she needs a nap. And and it's like, well, if I hadn't have pushed so hard back then due to, I don't know, programming, internal beliefs, like whatever it is, and need to prove myself, like would future me right now be like, hey, I got some energy? I don't know.
The woman starting a new podcast.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I haven't dealt with it. I'm just noticing
I'm aware of it now. And it's in the room. Yeah, like it's a funny thing to I really relate to that, like I guess I would say my mum was definitely like a boss bitch in terms of like, I think she, she was the strategist, she was the planner, she was the, pieces. She ran a massive company at one point, like a massive tourism company that had like 6 different, whitewater rafting, reef tours, hot air ballooning, blah, blah, blah. Like she was the boss of that, she was the boss of my dad for sure. She was the boss of us kids, and they built a house they started building a house when I was 10 that she was the builder on. So like I feel like I could get down with your mom, Yeah, well that imprint was very strong in me. I left home though around 16, 17. Like I officially left at 17, moved to another state. And I spent probably the first 2 years of my liberation being like, what the hell is being alive as an adult? This is terrifying. And then being like, whoa, hang on, who am I living as? I felt like I really took on my mum's persona and a lot of her narratives and her belief systems and things were mine. And I bought a house when I was 20 because my mum was into property and I got told to do it and I did it. And I kind of, I went to uni because my parents, I guess, wanted me to. I also enjoy studying, so it kind of was like a natural fit for me. But there was a lot of things that I was kind of like, I feel like I'm going through the motions a little bit and not sure whose program I'm actually running. And I started to do some therapy and started to look at some things and had like several nervous breakdowns, like where I pushed myself so hard. Like I used to like party like crazy. I would take 5 subjects a semester to try and get through uni faster. I would volunteer my time as well and work a full-time job to pay a mortgage at like I started uni when I was 18, finished when I was 22 because I ended up changing degrees. And then my whole last year of uni I worked for free, which ended up in a job when I left. But and it was an hour and a half commute, the job I had. So it was 3 hours in the car every day. And I did Ashtanga yoga, which meant I got up at like 4 a.m. And so like I had a few nervous breakdowns along the way. I actually called a naturopath one time at like 9 p.m. and left a message on, like just Googled her and was like, hello, I don't think I'm okay. Like, and I don't really believe in doctors, so I don't know where else to go. And she was like, oh my God. And she kind of helped. She's like, do you drink water? And I was like, sometimes, she's kind of patched me back to let's start from the basics. Yeah. But it was kind of like that. It was like I was so outside of myself that I didn't take care of the fundamental things. Like I had an eating disorder. There was a lot of other stuff going on. And I reflect on that as a lot to do with my upbringing and things. My mother's a part of that story, unfortunately. For all of the good things she imprinted on me, there were a lot of negatives too, and I weigh that up all the time. And so I think that whole period of my early 20s to about 25 was me kind of reconciling like that I had this programming and I didn't want to be that person forever, but I didn't know how to stop, It was just like, I have to keep moving because I'm terrified of stopping, but I don't know why I'm terrified of stopping, It was just this funny, and I just would feel when I stopped that I couldn't be there. And there's a lot of little things in that. I nearly died when I was like 10. I always think about that. Like I remember separating
Are you just going to drop that?
It was a tick. Which in this area, we all hate ticks, but yeah. And well, I don't know, there's not much to say there. It's just it was a funny thing that happened, and my mum saved my life. The doctors said I was fine and to go home. and she went to the university in Cairns and organised for me to see a tropical disease specialist. And like he was like, there's been 4 cases of this in 60 or 40 years or something, since the 60s. This is in 95. And you need to go to hospital right now. And you just need this one specific antibiotic. Once you're on it, you'll be fine. But you're so sick. Like I was in a wheelchair. Like I couldn't walk. My mum had to carry me places. Yeah. And so I think that kind of really did something to me. And then I, had a crazy time in my teens, and then entering into my 20s, did a lot of psychedelics in my late teens and early 20s, which, as we know, expands one's consciousness a little bit. I did a lot of yoga as well. So that kind of correlated to, recognizing that I could do the psychedelic stuff without the...
Send me out of my body with the psychedelics and bring me back in with the yoga.
Well, the yoga, I actually started to realize that all the stuff... So yeah, when you leave your body with psychedelics, you're using your own energy, whereas with yoga, you're cultivating the energy to have a kind of natural experience of that in a way, like as in you're building your energy body to be strong enough to hold those experiences. So I actually started to see that wasn't helping me, that being the psychedelics, and that yoga was actually a gateway into those same beautiful communion experiences I was having, but without being completely cooked for like weeks or months afterwards. Yeah. So it was this kind of like recognizing the many paths to the same destination, but one that was a little bit more wholesome and supportive for me. Yeah. And so I think when I got to like, 25, 26, a couple of people died around me, and I just started to see like, I think I had like a little bit of an epiphany where I was like, fuck, life is actually really short. And yeah, actually, how do I want to be? And I started doing yin yoga. A whole bunch of things changed for me, and I started to consciously choose to not be as hectic. And, I know all my friends will be laughing at this, being like, babe, you are still hectic. But my version of hectic is significantly less hectic than I used to be, and I feel like constantly evolving. And I think that is what you're kind of recognizing that same thing of like, oh, is this actually a choice I want to make? And for me as a mother, like having my daughter who's 8 now, that was a really big, I remember in COVID 2020 or 2019, I remember saying to my husband, because I was running our company at the time, and I was, back in that pattern of
go, go, go.
Go, go, go. And a story that I recognize of I have to do it, me, not him. Like I can't trust him to do it, or I can't, not that I don't trust him, I think, but it was like I can't rely on him. I have to be the one to pull this thing through.
Can I just pause you for a second there, because I feel that deeply. Like my ability to outsource or to delegate is so poor. Like no one does it good enough. I feel like I'm just double tapping. Yeah. If I let you do it, and then I have to look over it, and then I have to like fix it up, I'm like, I may as well just do it from the start, And I don't know where that comes from. I just assumed it was a Virgo trait.
I mean, maybe un poquito. No, it's a super interesting one, because it actually, it isolates us from the capacity to receive, and the capacity to receive isn't like, it's actually, in my opinion, and I'm not a therapist or anything, but I think it's an act of self-abandonment. It's like, I'm not worthy, and I mean this really, and I'm not trying to say this is necessarily true for you, just want to be clear, but for me, it was like and this is where this whole pain-free birth thing really started to unravel for me, or like I was like, oh, I see it now, because if I'm the island and like this, resistant thing that can't let life or anyone else in, then how can I possibly have a pain-free birth? I'm tense, I'm tight, I'm resistant to life, I'm resistant to love, I'm resistant to all of these things. And how do I actually let the people around me actualize? If I say I'm a teacher, which is what I say I am, and I want to see people evolve, which is what I profess to teach, because I see yoga as a vehicle for transformation, and that's what I've taught from the beginning and what I continue to teach. Whether it's anatomical transformation, if your body's messed up, or spiritual, but I see that that's actually preventing everyone around me from rising. It keeps me in this like kind of superior island position, and it's actually really arrogant. And I had a really hard look at myself. I didn't like what I saw, and running the business was a really big epiphany for me, because when I'd had my business prior to that, I had a yoga studio, but it was kind of like everyone was kind of like a contractor and they kind of came in and out, and I didn't feel like, you know, yes, I was maybe at the top of the hierarchy because I owned it, but I didn't have to manage them so much. You know, it was more like making sure that the place was clean and the bills were paid and all that kind of stuff. Whereas when I had the business, the Super Feast business, I really started to see where I was really blocked at establishing systems and actually teaching people and actually empowering my, you know, people under me to rise up and to grow and all of these things. And I've watched my husband, when I stepped back, I've watched him actually do all of that. And I'm actually very humbled and often apologize to him, and I'm kind of embarrassed by how, you know, he would have done that sooner if I hadn't have been in charge. And I think I blocked that in a lot of ways, even though, you know, it was kind of like, it looked like from the outside I was holding it all together, but I literally was holding it all together, whereas he's built an organism that holds itself together. And that, to me, I'm like, whoa, like that's actually what men do. They recognize from a much higher place, like women are in it, like we're in the grit of the day-to-day hustle and bustle of all of it. And we're meant to be, we're kind of like these little antenna. And I see men as like holding this much broader vision. It's like when you go to the fridge and they're like, where's the butter? And you're like, holy shit, it's right there. They can't see stuff right in front of them, but they can see the bigger picture and they can see how things fit together. And I think when women try to take that lens, like we can do it, of course we can, just like men can do details. Like my husband can tend my children beautifully, but it's like I've really noticed a difference as we've separated our family roles. So I left the business when my son Leo was born. He's 3 now. Don't have anything really to do with it except for occasionally marketing, but like nothing day to day. And I have just I wouldn't say our relationship was bad. It never has been. We're very honest and we talk about everything, but it's really improved our relationship in a lot of ways, because I feel like he's been able to execute what he could see and was blocked by me being there, but didn't want to, like, you know, he's like, you are doing a good job and things are good, and you know, it's like, it's not like you're bad.
No. And I think this plays into this whole like dynamic too that has shifted so much. Sorry to again, just go on another tangent, but I see that so much, like men almost like refrain from doing what biologically they're designed for. Like they do it really well because like just the way their brains are wired, it puts them in that place of being able to look at things more logically and more like, objectively, and like order stuff, and then also delegate. Like my husband too, incredible delegator. Yeah. And
they're used to teams and stuff. Like
exactly.
Mason's like, this is a team. I'm like, I liked yoga where you play on your own. And he's like, well, that's different. You know? But it's true. Like,
but like I feel like there's this whole like shift where men are taking this step back because it's like, oh, if I can see she's capable 100%, and if I try to take on some of that responsibility, is she going to think that I'm being misogynistic? Is she going to think that I think she's not capable? Like I don't want her to feel this. And then there's, I think, a whole nother group where we've played this out so hard that now it's like men are like, oh no, like you should do 50% of this part because you know it's a lot of work for me and I shouldn't have to do all of it by myself, like the provider role, and we're living in a world where you're so capable, and so
why don't you?
Exactly. Yeah, no, but it is, and I think like those kind of narratives, without it infiltrating to the front where, you know, it's like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. But I think it still plays out in so many relationships. I mean, I in my DMs, I do actually get quite a few women every now and then who are like, I want to soften into motherhood. Like we did everything 50-50, and this is my own situation as well. Did everything 50-50, and then and all through my pregnancy, because, you know, that's just what we do. And then motherhood came and my brain is completely different. My abilities and my capabilities are different. I can still do everything the same, but the amount of energy it takes to focus on that and take my energy away from the kids it's awful. But my husband doesn't want me to, like, even if the money is there, like my husband doesn't want me to stop, because if that's like I might lose part of myself, or I might never go back to working, and then that is the sole responsibility is on. It's just this weird. I'm like, because I've just got so many of these different stories.
Sociology group at the moment. As in, we've talked about this off the podcast, but like you're hearing from women, and I think a lot of people, I get similar DMs. They're like, oh, I want what you have. Like, you're home with your kids, but you sort of still have your own thing going on. And then you've got this partner who's like really passionate and does what he loves. And like, how did you guys do that? And I'm like, we messed our way through it. Like
100%.
COVID. So I didn't finish that thought. But in 2019, so my husband was he was the first airplane to be locked down. He came back from LA the day after the borders closed. So they were on a flight that left LA at like whatever o'clock, and it arrived at 1 a.m. or something in Brisbane, and he was on the lockdown flight. So he came home and we did like 2 weeks of uninterrupted home time. Did you go to the beach a few times?
It was horrible. It was horrible.
I was like, this is amazing. And I started,
you're not allowed to leave me.
Well, both of us were like, because we both traveled. Like my daughter has been all over the world. You know, we've taken her all over the country. Like she's traveled so much. And then COVID hit, and suddenly we were home, and I was thinking, oh my God, I actually love being home. I love doing craft all day with her. I love, you know, we were like, couldn't go to any daycare or anything, so she was home with me. We were doing all of that stuff together. And I remember getting to bed one night, and I was so scared to say this, and I was like, I nearly cried, and I was like, Mace, I don't think I want to go back to Superfeast when like the world starts up again. Like, because this was probably like, now we were kind of in it. Things had been, you know, locked down and blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I brewed on it for maybe 6 months or something, and I said it to him, and I was kind of like waiting for him to be like, well, we need you there and we don't have any money and da 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 da. And he was like, oh, I'm so happy to hear that, babe. Like, I love watching you with our daughter, and gave me a cuddle, and I was like, you're such a good man. But, you know, and then the reality was it was like a 2-year exit strategy, because it was not that straightforward for me to leave having A, shit delegation skills, B, not captured my entire role while I was doing it. So I had to retro engineer that or reverse engineer that. And, you know, and then we were blah, blah, blah. We kind of had to hire a team and train everyone. And so that took a 2-year process. And so I think a lot of the time people look now and they're like, oh, you know, you have your little yoga thing and with your kids. And I'm like, yeah, but that was, you know, we're talking 5 years to get to that point of, and us having to navigate, like him having to grieve like that he kind of in some ways lost control of his business to me and had to reclaim it. And then that meant that the team was used to one style of leadership and his style is different. And, you know, it was a really big thing for both of us. And we had to stand there sometimes in the kitchen and look at each other and be like, God, I had to be like, I'm sorry. And also, you know, it is what it is. Like we did what we did because we didn't know any different, you know. And he had to go, I know, and also I need to feel this like regret. And I'm like, I get it. And, you know, we had to go through these big like cathartic processes. He went to therapy for a couple of years. Like we really went through a lot in that time. And the flip side of it is brilliant. Like I'm so happy now, but it was not super pretty. And yeah, and I think getting married as well. We got married in 2020. We had a COVID wedding.
Can I, before we go into that, because that was one of my questions.
How did you have 150 people at a COVID wedding?
No. That never happened.
No, it was actually in the legal times.
Oh, okay.
Remember how Byron was slightly, like we were kind of for a hot minute.
I didn't pay attention.
Well, we were for a hot minute, we were free.
I was like,
we were like, great.
I was just like, I will do what I want to do, bitches.
I know. I was just chatting to my best friend the other day and she was like, we just had the best time in COVID. I'm like, I know. And that's not true of so many people.
No.
And I know there are people listening who had a shitty time and I am really sorry because I know that it would be very different. Like Melbourne, New York, LA, I know it was really hectic. But
a lot of cities.
I will say Byron Bay was not a bad place to do a pandemic.
No, well, that's why we did get quite a large influx of city dwellers.
Yes, we did.
No, but I forgot where I was going with this. I had a question because I just am curious. Why did you get married?
So
we're going to get back to pain-free birth, by the way.
This all makes sense in the end.
By the end, we will know why pain-free birth is coming. But why did you get married?
Look, I love this because my parents aren't married.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not allowed to talk about them on podcasts because I've been told not to by my parents. So I can't talk about it. But
love you,
let's
Tahnee's
just
parents.
say, yeah, I do love my parents. Let's just say that I wouldn't say that was like a model that I was like, that worked. I wouldn't say that worked, the not getting married thing. It's been a bone of contention for my entire life that it would kind of be thrown back and forth about, well, you never asked me and now I'm too old, and well, you didn't want to get married when we met, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys go to therapy. And then I was in a 10-year relationship with a guy and I never wanted to get married ever the whole time. And I remember thinking, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'm not the marrying type. Maybe, what my parents did was the right thing to do. And then Mace and we had been together not very long, probably like a year and a bit, and we got pregnant. And about 3 months into our pregnancy, he asked me to marry him. And I remember being like, oh, yeah, but okay. Yeah, I didn't really think about it. And then we didn't do anything for 5 years. And I felt like we both really had to come to terms with what it looked like. So his parents divorced when he was 2. Mine aren't married. We don't have a strong reference for what healthy marriage looks like, kind of in a, as in marriage, like people who chose to walk down the aisle and all that kind of stuff. And so we kind of sat with that quite a lot. And for me, it was the biggest change in our relationship. I was thinking about this while I was driving here, and I don't know why, but maybe it's to share it now. But it's like, 2 things happened to me in the lead up to getting married. I had a tarot reader say, just a random tarot reader I met at a friend's Beltane festival. She's like, this marriage is going to bring so much light, but light casts a shadow. So beware. But she's like, it's the best thing, you should do it. And then we also know this guy who's kind of like a shaman, and he said, great ceremony brings rain, and you've got to remember that something really beautiful will also bring this kind of big shift or this big alchemical change. And
then it flooded.
Yeah, well, 2 years later. It's not our fault. No, but I thought that was such I've been reflecting on that because it felt like we made a conscious choice by getting married, and we had 2 weddings. We had a spirit wedding and a legal wedding. We had a legal wedding on the full moon, the 2 weeks before our spirit wedding, and then we had a spirit wedding with friends, family, and like ceremony and ritual. And they were both so beautiful. One we had to do because of the laws, and one we chose to do because of what we wanted to bring into our relationship. And I feel like I was always committed, but I'm so committed. To break that bond to me would be, it's like killing a living being to me, and I would have to it would have to be very serious for me to choose to end that. I feel like it made us a family, and it made us choose to look at a lot of the shadow in both of our families. Like, I feel like we both went through a very big, dark process of, wanting to rewrite a lot of stories from our family histories on both sides. And, every family has stuff, and it wasn't kind of a bad thing necessarily, but it brought a lot of change in the dynamics of our families and our relationships with our families. And I think for the children, for me, it's brought this sort of sense of unification that we're a little pod. No one's, even my daughter who was born out of that container, because she was present and a participant in it, it felt really right. And also I feel like she's such a little alchemist. She came to change a lot of these things anyway for us. And then we've had my 2 boys in that container. I just feel, there's just something very special about it. I don't know. I don't think I realized how big it would be. I thought I would just get married and keep on. And we had to do the wedding itself was amazing, and then the wedding postpartum was bad, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. But we ended up doing a reclamation ceremony a year after our wedding, and I want to tell this story because it's just, to me, I'm like, this is what ceremony is. Ceremony is when you open up to God, but I don't believe in, like Jeebus God. I just believe in God. And you say, like, I know that I'm not the most important thing in all of this, and I know that there's something bigger going on, and I know that I'm a part of it all, and I'm surrendered fully to whatever's meant to be, but this is the choice we're making, and if it's good, it's good, and we so we decided to go down on the night of our anniversary to the spot we got married at the beach and reclaim our ceremony, because our ceremony had been ruptured. And so anyway, we're in the driveway, we're screaming at each other, having a fight. We don't fight super often, and I'm like, fuck this, why are we even going to this thing to try and reclaim it's obviously not a very good marriage anyway. We're having this stupid fight, and it was really dumb. I don't even know why. We'd got a babysitter, we were really strung out. Anyway, we looked up and there were two black cockatoos. We heard the cockatoos and we looked up, and the two black cockatoos flew over our heads. Our house is 800 meters from the beach, toward the beach. And we were like, okay, we're getting in the car. So we got in the car, we went to the beach, we parked, and we were still really pissed off at each other. And we're sitting in the car park, stiff, angry. And then we look up and there's two kookaburras, it's at sunset, laughing at us. And we're like, okay, yes, we know. And so we get our shit together, and we'd meant to go down there earlier, but it was dark. It was starting to get dark because it was sunset, and we're like, oh, we're trying to find the spot. Then we couldn't remember where we got married. We were standing on this beach we go to every day, and we're like, where the hell is the entrance to this little portal of, magic? And then we're kind of arguing about where it is. So we finally find it, and then I'm sort of standing on the threshold, and I'm like, do I really want to go do this? Because I'm off him and he's off me, and then these two this beautiful silvery egrets that we get around our area. They're like water birds, and they're so elegant, and a pair of them flew over again directly over our ceremony spot, and I was like, oh my God, okay, we get it, the messages are clear. And so we went in and we lit a fire and we did all of the things, and it was actually very beautiful. We kind of simmered down and got over it and did our little ceremony and drank a glass of wine each and kind of talked a bit, and then we were like, let's go nudie swimming. And so we ran down to the beach, and there was a lightning storm on the horizon, and lightning re-electrifies the Earth's surface. It gives all these electrons which are negative charge that make us healthier and better and clean us and clear us. And I'm like, of course. And then we jump in the water and there's phosphorescence, which I've never seen at our beach.
Really?
So we're swimming in sparkle stars with the lightning way out to sea, and it was,
were you on mushrooms?
we were not on anything. I swear to, I had one glass of red wine, one glass. I swear to God. And I was like, see, this is what ceremony does. It brings everything out that needs to come out, because we were we needed to move through that resistance to the healing. Well, yeah, I think we were both hurt by what happened, and it's easy to project that out to because to really, one thing I've learned is it's a lot easier to be angry and hurt than it is to actually heal something, right? To actually accept that it happened, know that you can't fix it and change it or do anything about it, and choose to move forward with it and
that's a very vulnerable state to be in.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't want to.
No
vulnerability
thank
here.
you. I'd rather yell at my husband.
I'd rather be the tough
strong. Yeah, exactly. And so that was we could both see that. And I mean, I love about my partner that he's usually
husband. You're married now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like he is also my partner. We do a lot of things together.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's my husband. And I love that he's so he can hold, he can be really pissed off and still be like, I know that I love you and I'm just a little bit angry.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I think that's something that's very different between men and women, because apparently around 70% of divorce or rupture of marriages is from women. The women initiate it. And I think it is because with men, they can go through a real shit time. I've spoken at length with Toga about this. he's like, oh yeah, like our relationship's shit at the moment. But like, he's like, but it'll get better. Like, it's just, we don't have the attention right now to focus on that. And, you know, the kids are young, they need us. Like, we've got 10 million businesses going because Togger is an ideas whiz.
He's a Libra, guys.
He's a Libra.
So am I.
And you know, and all of this, like everything around us is taking our attention away. And so the relationship is not getting any nourishment. And here we are, it's shit. So, and he sees that. Whereas like, as soon as our relationship starts going down, I'm like, he doesn't love me anymore. This is it. This is the end. What I'm feeling inside is complete loneliness. I should probably start going through the motions of divorce. Like,
I need to get on Hinge. I don't know if that's the right app, but I've heard of it.
Oh God, that's one reason why I'll never get divorced.
As
soon as you say that, I'm like,
I don't want to be
divorced.
out in the field of
that. No. Yes. I will put up with so much because that is the alternative.
Online dating.
But no, and like I spiral. I go into a very emotional state where I spiral, and I know that about me now after doing it a number of times. and I'll go to Togger and I'll be like, okay, well, let's just get a divorce. And he's kind of like, so what? And I'm like, no, like this is obviously where it's at. Like, it's been so shit for so long. Like, I know that you don't love me anymore. He's like, what are you talking about? Like
we're just not really getting along.
Yeah,
right now.
he's like, yeah, it's shit, but like we've been through shit before, and we know that as soon as we put some energy into our relationship. So really, what I should be saying is, I need you to help me put some more nourishment into the relationship. But I just spiral. Like I do this spiral, like that, and I don't know. I'm sure there's a whole lot of programming that we could tap into there, but I think that's actually something that women do go through, and maybe. And it is a lot more internal, I think. Like you don't externally spiral unless it's like with your girlfriends that you trust down the park with your babies.
On BMs.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think just like having the container of marriage was actually something that was quite helpful, because it snaps me out of that a bit, because I'm like, oh no, I've made this commitment, and it's like this amazing thing. I also had a very meh approach to marriage. I was like, okay, like it's not going to change anything, but it did. It changed a lot. And we're not religious in that way. There wasn't like this, you know, religious, you know, binding and blah blah blah. We had to kind of pick apart what we thought marriage was and what it would mean to us, but there's no way that we did or even realized how much it was going to affect and change our relationship, and how much more solid. It took a big layer of stress away that I didn't realize I was carrying. And I don't know, these are just things that people don't talk about, because I feel like the narrative around marriage, for me growing up at least, watching the shows that I watched and watching, like my parents stayed together but all of their friends were falling apart. And so the narrative was kind of like, well, it's just a piece of paper for the government, you know?
Yeah.
And
like a birth certificate or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was way more than that. So anyway, I
I think it's really important to, like, I think what our generation is doing, and I'm pretty sure this is astrological because I remember learning that somewhere along the way, is we're unpicking the structures of, like, the norms, the structural norms of our culture and society, and we're examining them and deciding if they're worth upholding or if they're worth releasing. And I'm really into like older teachers like Stephen Jenkinson. I've done a lot of his like stuff online and his little courses and stuff, and read his books, and I find his teachings to be really interesting around like culture and pillars and patriarchy and like matriarchy and all of these things, and marriage as a covenant. Like, you know, it's really important to examine what marriage means. And I think, you know, there's this, we're not in really circles where marriage is as materialistic as it is, but there's, you know, I have friends down in Sydney and Newcastle and around the world where like the wedding is like the biggest money you'll ever spend, and it's like the thing, and it's quite superficial in a way. And I'm sure it's also very like I'm sure there's a
component you're not really.
Yeah, like a ceremonial component for sure. But
it's more of an unconscious thing
rather
than that
exactly.
You're consciously bringing in that reverence.
Yeah, and I think that's the distinction. We still had a massive party. Like for us, food was really important, and like dancing and laughing and silliness, and we did like a 4-song medley with like hip hop and like spiritual songs. Like we were like we're all over the place, but that's who we are. We're like we are deeply spiritual, and we also love really crass, disgusting comedy. Like that's okay. Like we like to drink alcohol sometimes, and we like to do meditation, like in qigong. Like you can do both of those things, I think. And so our wedding to me really represented that. It was like pastries and focaccia, and then there's going to be like a flower ceremony, and we're going to bring our waters together, and we're going to have like a violin player, and like that's the people who we are. And that was really important to us, was to create a day that was like about our lives and our like what us coming together meant. And the ceremonial aspect is was for us about like we brought water from where my husband used to live in Sydney. We brought water from where I grew up in Far North Queensland. We brought water from where my daughter was conceived, and we bought land in the place where we got married. So we poured our water into like a sand hole there, and we got all the children at the wedding to put little nature trinkets in, like little Banksias and stuff. And then we buried it, and like we offered ourselves back to the land where we lived. And it was things like that kind of just felt for us like really meaningful, but kind of, again, they're nothing without the context of ceremony. Like you can just pour water on the ground and like whatever. But, the intention, and I think intention is such an underutilized tool. And like Chinese medicine that I study in Taoism and yoga, like intention amplifies everything. Quantum biology is saying this now as well. That's where so much magic can occur, when you can align your intention with the action and actually amplify it. And this does come back to pain-free birth. Like if you don't believe it's possible, and you haven't examined your belief systems and your own, enculturation around birth, and you're, going to have a baby in a couple of months, like you're probably just going to have the birth that your subconscious and your like nervous system can have, because that's all that's available to you. But if you start to, with intention, rewrite and recreate some of that, and really just look at it objectively and examine it, I think that's what we're all doing when we're criticizing mainstream media, and we're criticizing the news, and we're criticizing, the feminist narrative, and we're criticizing marriage. It's like we're just trying to understand, like, what is this thing really, My husband and I have a TV show planned that we've never made, but it's called Toxic Mimic. And I hope I'm allowed to talk about this, but I think I am. One of the things, like, it's
exclusive right here, guys.
Keshia, you're getting it all. But like tobacco is a sacred medicine. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's a masculine medicine. It's designed to help men commune, and it's been corrupted by industrial complex.
Oh, I'd say a lot of plant medicines have been.
Yeah, but literally, we have a list a mile long of like, chocolate, sacred, cacao versus Cadbury,
ayahuasca.
Well, yeah, but that's you can't buy that at the shop. No, but like there's so many things that the industrial birth is another one of them. It's got its hands on it. Like the toxic mimic of birth is what we think birth is in mainstream culture, which is a medical emergency that you need to be rescued from or saved from by the medical establishment, and you're completely insane / a murdering child killer if you choose anything else. And our pelvises are not designed to have babies. Like that is the weirdest argument to me. I'm like, literally the entire species has been here for longer than we've had anatomy studies, so shut the hell up. This is what we've got, and we've got it with education. Like education is meant to be adults mentoring children in the ways of the culture, the community, in like teaching them morality, teaching them story, teaching them song, helping them to see the connections between things, growing them into the type of adults we want to have in our community. Mm-hmm. What do we get in modern Western education? Like babysitting with iPads and like algebra, right? Like anyway, so that's what toxic mimic is. It's this idea that we all know instinctively that union between two willing participants is powerful. It's better than one. Like two things coming together to create one is better than one thing existing. Like that's what the sperm and the egg is. That's what the Tao talks about, you know. You've got Wuji. Wuji splits on purpose in order to create more. Like that's kind of the 10,000 things. The manifest universe comes from the division and the union of that division. And so like we all understand on some level that there's value in union, but maybe you don't want to have it in a church under the eyes of, you know, Jesus God. Fine. Jesus God. Like I never think how it's just Abrahamic God, let's say. It's a bit more intelligent. People God. Understand Jesus God. When I say Abrahamic God, they're like, huh? But you know, like that might be.
I feel like we can just say God at this stage. I mean, I used to go on about the universe and you know, spirit and I think and now we've just I feel like we can just circle back God.
G-O-D.
We all know. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, I got to the same point where I was like, this is just too complicated. I'm talking about God. And I know
this is what we're talking about now. It's like I'm not religious, but I'm still talking about God
like
because there is a spiritual
something
like
is
these
going on out
spiritual
there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm probably never gonna know exactly what it is, but I can give it a name. The cultural name is God.
And this is the name that's been used for
that's practical
millennia. We'll just stick with that one.
And I think that's the thing with all of this stuff, right? Like examine like having children. Like, okay, it used to be that you kind of had to have children and then you didn't for a while there. Maybe now it's like we have a declining birth rate. I know you told me that, you know, fine. But what value do children bring like to the wider world? Like they're not just weird little dependent things, like
which is what we're told.
Yeah.
But I heard something that was just so beautiful the other day because I know that this narrative kind of infiltrated my realm, which was that children are the biggest like carbon dioxide creators. Like you're basically creating global warming with each child you have. And the counter to that was actually no, like children are our greatest resource. True story. I used to get panic attacks. And when I went and investigated this, it turns out I had low iron, something 1 in 3 of us have. Now, regular iron supplements, gross. They're full of synthetics. Your body doesn't even absorb it. And be honest, inflammation. So when I found this supplement, I just had to share it with you guys. It is Great Spirit. They are organic, synthetic free. It is all whole food based and they're produced here in Australia. I cannot believe the difference I've seen in my energy levels and no panic attacks. So if you want to check them out, you can head to greatspirit.com.au. Use the code Keshia 20 for 20% off your first order and enjoy feeling good again. Wow, Keshia, how great is the quality of your new podcast, Return to Wisdom? Oh, mate, I know. I have been recording at Byron Bay's premium content and podcast recording studio, Pod Byron. They are epic. It's new, it's fresh, it's legit, as you can see. If you want to upskill your brand, if you want to create a course online, this is the place to do it. Jump on at podbyron.com and be sure to check the show notes for a sneaky little discount on your first session. Pod Byron, that's where it's at. You. And I was just like, full body chills. I'm like, they are. Like, children are our greatest resource. And so long as we're not raising them to be little narcissistic monsters, which I feel like that's happening. It's happening. Like, they're very fragile and they're also very narcissistic. And there's,
kids
I've got a few questions.
So I think it's important to recognize development. Like, children are meant to be self-absorbed, right?
I feel like beyond development, beyond developmental stages. No, and thank you.
Because if your child isn't like a saint, that's okay, you know. And I've seen women in the park being like, oh, he won't share. And I'm like, I know, he's 3. Like, he's going to throw sand at that kid and kick them in the face. That's fine. That's what 3-year-olds do because their will is developing and it's not about anybody else. You know?
But also those are really great teaching moments to be like, hey, we don't kick people in the face and we don't throw sand. It's not nice.
But you don't have to cry and as in get anxious that your child's going to be
doing that shit. Yeah.
You know, Hitler reincarnate or something. Like, I've literally had women say like, I don't know, he's going to be a terrible person. It's like, no, babe. Like, this is what a 3-year-old does. And then they won't do it. Like, give it 2 years and you'll be like, oh,
give it.
They're really nice children, actually.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Yeah.
Actually on that, I know we just keep deviating, but a funny little, a funny little anecdote. I had a friend who she's like, I feel like I'm going to be that woman on the news who's like, I don't know where we went wrong. I fed them organic. Like, he had everything he needed. I did all the aware parenting and I don't know why he's in jail now. Like,
Karma's a bitch, man. Like,
he was also 3 years old at the time, so like we can
3-year-olds
big deep breaths.
They're a special. I mean, I love them because I'm like, do you know? I like my little boy. He's like, I want to spit in your face and roar at you. And I'll be like, fine, you can roar at me, but don't spit at me. And he's like, okay. You know, and like we have this little dialogue. But I'm like, man, there's people that I want to roar at sometimes, you know, and you just don't have the social filter.
Yeah.
You're like, As
soon as
imagine how much happier I'd be if I could just
tell me about it. But then you know we're learning social cues, and it's good. It's good. Anyway, let's go back to pain-free birth. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yes. So what do you want to know?
It's only been an hour, and we've nearly
finished
nailed
this question. One question.
That question.
This will be like an edited. It's going to be really funny. It'll be
completely unedited. It's always awesome having you in here because I know that this is how the conversation is going to go. But we touched on almost all of my questions too.
Oh, did we?
So yeah,
look at us. Very clever.
I think. Yeah, like I feel like we've nearly touched on it. So pain-free birth.
Yeah.
It is possible.
Yes.
We just need to open our perspectives to it.
Well, no, that's like that's stage one. It's like accept that it's possible.
Yeah.
You know, it's like then. So I mean, for me, it's like, all right, it's possible, and then I have to go. Well, why would I choose something else? And then I have to look at what we've sort of circularly talked about. And I want to say this with a lot of grace, but women love a war story around birth, right? Like women love to say, like it's kind of boring talking about my third son's birth. I'm like, well, I went for a bit, like on the tub, and he came out. And I'm like, it's actually not very exciting. I don't want to be like, oh my God, I had an orgasmic birth and I was just like, so amazing. Because
you should all feel bad because you're not orgasming during birth.
Yeah, but even to me, I'm like, well, actually there's a very big difference between an orgasm, which for me is a sexual experience I have with my partner or myself, which has an intention of reaching a climax and then the descent. This didn't have that peak and trough situation. It was just this sustained bliss. And the closest thing I can correlate it to is plant medicine or yoga, like meditation. So I would say it was more of a spiritual experience than a orgasmic experience. I feel like after I had this birth, I went and looked at the orgasmic birth teachers because there are a couple, Deborah, someone I think her name is.
Yep.
Pascal.
Yep.
So her definition of
she did orgasmic birth, didn't she? Wasn't she one of the creators?
Oh, possibly.
Yeah.
I literally just Googled her and had a read of how she defines orgasm, and she said orgasm is an altered state, and I was like, well, then all birth is orgasmic because I had altered states with all of my births. So I think that's
try and not be altered while you're giving birth.
Literally the point of birth is to alter us. So I was like, I think that's a kind of loose definition that maybe is used for marketing terms and isn't as. And so I've been very careful to say pain-free, and if I do say anything like bliss would be and I say that from the yogic perspective of Satchitananda, which is the state of bliss, it's what is kind of, I guess you could say, one of the goals of yoga is to experience that feeling. There's feelings beyond it, so it's not the end goal, but it's part of this experience of creation is to be able to unify with that bliss state. And I would say that birth is one of those options to do that. So I would say it's more of a spiritual or blissful state, not blissful like, ha 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 ha, like I'm on drugs or what, oh yeah, maybe those kinds of drugs, but not like, not, I don't know. I think it's a really hard word to break down, but that's my experience was more pain-free, definitely blissful, but I would not say in like a, in more of like a, whoa, like I'm, whoa, like it was just such a beautiful, I was like, I could have been anywhere. Like I was, and my husband, I remember he came to kiss me in the birth and I was like I'm like, I can't kiss you right now. Not because I don't love you or whatever, but I'm just like, I'm so far beyond having a human interaction in this moment. Like I'm in this like wave of pleasure that isn't to do with sex, And I thought that was really interesting because I believed prior to that sex, all those things about, bring your dildo to birth and sex gets the baby in, baby. Yeah. Have you not heard that?
No, I have not.
I think, who says this?
That sounds not ideal. I feel like we're really trying to there's a flow of energy, right? And when you're giving birth, it's not like a
that's a very yogic thing. Apana Vayu, the downward force, upward forces. And look, for me, the where I got that from, and I can't remember who says it, sorry, but they say to put it on your bedside table when you're in the hospital because it will scare off,
or on the bed.
Scares off everybody.
And
they do say to use it, but it's funny.
Real
like
side.
A real big one.
No. Like have you probably wouldn't have because you're not an idiot like this. But I watched Lily, what's her name? Oh my God.
Is it a comedian?
No, she's not a comedian. She is an OnlyFans.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen an OnlyFans.
No. It's 100. There was a documentary made about her sleeping with 100 men a day.
Whoa.
Fascinating.
In one day?
It was heart-wrenching, and I can't tell you like how many ick things it brought up for me, but
yeah.
Very interesting. She's a very damaged girl. But at the start, she shows her collection of tools but not just dildos. It's like a whole thing. And I'm like, mate, if you ever going to birth in a hospital, I'd take that bag and just scatter them everywhere. I'm like, that is one way
from OnlyFans.
to be left alone. Like no one's coming to annoy you unless it is absolutely vital. If your floor is just littered with like this bag of goodies.
Terrifying.
It was really terrifying. I'm not a toys fan, but like
I mean, look,
anyway,
I think the sexualization of like, and I would have said prior to having my third child that there was a role for sex in birth. And I do think I had like a sexual encounter with my husband before my first birth, but in the very early stages of like literally, I think I'm going to have the baby soon, like today maybe. And we it was like late at night and we were going to bed and we had sex like we would normally do before going to bed. With my second child, I had no interest. I just felt like that was not on my menu options. And then with my third child, I think I was able to I'm like, what I think they're trying to point to is like the sexual energy, I suppose, is like the gateway to that. But so in Taoist practice, we work a lot with sexual energy because beyond the like clitoral, like vaginal orgasmic energy, there's the uterus and then the connection the uterus has to the heart. And when you can actually have a uterine orgasm, it activates the Chong Mai, which is the central vessel in the heart, and it opens the heart, and it's like a whole nother thing. And that's through cervical orgasm, which the cervix, the os, the little part that we can feel inside of our vaginas, that's what you can hit with the penis. Different times of the month it's easier and harder, but it's not so much about the penis touching it necessarily, it's about the energetic connection and the heart connection. So that's a really big part of that. And I think when I had Hugo, my third child, I was like, that's like, because I've had that experience with my partner doing Taoist practice, and I've had it in meditation doing like kind of cultivation practices. So I was like, that's the same thing. Because the uterus is literally contracting, and like that energy, if you don't translate it as pain, and remember pain is subjective, so they can't actually ever you're a physio, you know this.
Yeah.
Pain doesn't actually exist, right?
You can put it on a scale, but someone's pain threshold is going to be so much different to someone else's.
Like a sensation. So this is where BDSM is really interesting, right? Like you can, there are people that get pleasure out of being, say, whipped, which for me would be excruciating, but for them, and I'm not saying go do BDSM to train for pain through birth, but the idea is actually solid that if you can interrupt it's not about stopping the feedback, but it's about interpreting the feedback as differently. So this comes down to a lot of what we've actually talked about today, where it's like if you think kids suck and they're hard work and they're a punish and having children was the worst and why did I do this to myself and they're loud and da-da-da-da-da, then you're going to perceive that experience of your loud morning routine as painful and suffering, and the narrative will play out. And trust me, I have had and sometimes still have this narrative of like, oh my God, why did I do this to myself? This is mad. And thus you will suffer as a mother.
This is a very religious teaching that you are bringing into this. Yeah.
Well, but so if you hear the sound of your children's mayhem as lyrical and pleasurable and delightful, it's like someone can walk past the school and be like, ew, or walk past the school and be like, oh, like the sound of children playing, can really irritate and grate someone or make them happy. It's the same stimulus, but you're translating it differently. Like you as the antenna and the receptor for that stimulation are different. And that was the distinction for me between all of my births, the third being the one where I was able to feel the sensations and just be like, oh, I don't actually need to react to this as if it were painful or difficult. I still had contractions. I still opened. He was a 5-kilo baby. Like it was the biggest baby I've had. I was shocked. Like personally, I wrote in my phone about an hour into it. I'm like, I'm waiting for the pain to come. Like, where's the pain? Because I didn't believe it myself. And then when I had him, I remember like him coming out and I was like, wow, it feels like I've opened like a bowling ball size. Like I'd never felt the opening. Like it was up through my sacrum, my tailbone. So my tailbone, sacrum, like that opening was huge. And then all the way up through my pubic symphysis, I could feel, and I spend a lot of time in my body, so I understand what my body's feeling, but I'd never felt anything like that before. And it didn't hurt. And I remember being like, what is happening? But I think it's because I spent a lot of that pregnancy just reconciling that, these are sensations associated with childbirth. The body produces all of the chemicals and hormones and things we need, just like a marathon runner. Like I look at a marathon runner and I'm like, how do you do that? But they do it, right? And they enjoy it. Most marathon runners.
Well, they get runner's high. Surely you've had runner's high before.
Beta endorphins. We get the same thing when we have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's all there for you. But if you're in your nervous system, like sympathetic response wigging out, if you're like a classic do too mucher and you've come into birth like completely knackered and,
which I definitely went through. In my 5th birth, I was so exhausted.
Yeah. And it's hard as a mum, right? Like to not even just be tired.
I was very grateful for only having a 25-minute situation.
Well, that's just a whole nother story. Because 25 minutes is wild too. I mean, this birth was 2 hours and I felt like that was perfect. Like it was enough time to integrate that it was happening and that it had happened, that it didn't feel like a tsunami had hit me. I just felt like I was like, oh yeah, cool. That was what happened. 25 minutes I feel like would be fast.
Mate, if I reckon like 26 or 27 minutes and I probably would have just died because I was just like that tired. It was like she nailed it. She like really nailed her exit.
Yeah, but I think it's so interesting because like it sounds kind of simplistic to say. And look, I've made a course where I break down like so many things. I'm like, if you're in an environment that you're subconsciously processing as unsafe for whatever reason, like I had my second child straight after the floods. My nervous system was on high alert. My house was in the middle of being renovated. It was a shit fight. Like even the birth room was full of clutter because we'd had to move everything out of our house because it was being renovated and store it in where I gave birth. It was just things like that where I spent my 3rd pregnancy, still a lot going on. My husband was overseas for 6 weeks of my third trimester. I had whooping cough at 36 weeks. Like it wasn't like I was just sitting around, knitting and having a nice time, but I just made a really conscious effort to not let myself go out of whack. Like I just kept being like, no, I'm not going to allow myself to, like you said about spiral and all of these things. And I really held a lot of responsibility for that. I could choose something other than those trajectories. And it, back to what you said about that, like when I see myself spiraling, I just name it. Like and I say it, you said your husband's good at doing this. My husband is too, and I'll do it to him. I'll be like, okay, I just need to have a really big vent right now. And I know that this isn't how I really feel, but I just need to get this energy through. And then I'm going to like stop there because I just need to because this is the thing. We can't suppress the energy that needs to move. We also can't, if we give it too much, we'll fall apart, like if you constantly spend that energy. And that's the thing I think with pain-free birth too, is conserving your energy and being like you said container before, and I follow this guy and he's like, a container is what you put your lunch in. And I'm like, I do agree with you.
That is also a container. And it's a container for good things.
Yeah. And a part of me gets like annoyed with this, like now we're on the internet, we have containers for
everything's
things.
container.
Yeah.
I get you.
But I do think to hold, like one of the biggest differences with my third birth to my other births was I leaked so much energy in being a dramatic birthing person, as opposed to just like I would in my yoga practice. I'm inside my own body. It's got nothing to do with anyone else in the space. Like I'm not going to make a lot of noise. I actually found that making noise, I could feel when you said the downward energy, it's exactly what I felt when I vocalized it. The energy, instead of moving down, went out. And so when I stopped vocalizing and closed off like the back of my throat, the energy was forced to move down. It was forced to remain in my body, and just things like that I just didn't even notice with my first two because I was so wrapped up in all of it, But I think if someone wants to have a pain-free birth, the very first step is just to acknowledge it's possible. And then you need to acknowledge all the ways that you're going to stop yourself from having it, which will require probably a little bit of unpleasant time. And I had like 2 years of feeling pretty shit about myself for like all the things that I've chosen that I now think are like not really aligned with who I want to be in the world,
Yeah.
Or who I want my children to see me as, or who I want my partner to see me as, or the kind of adult I want to grow into. I think a lot about my 60 and 70-year-old self, and like, would I be like, who do I want to become? And, how do I actually be proud of myself through like my life? And and if I didn't take responsibility for the stuff that I've recognized about myself, sadly, then I wouldn't be proud of myself. So I have to keep going, But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's very hard. I actually don't think there's any magic to it. I just think we have to.
Although your course does,
magic.
it doesn't imply that there's a little bit of magic.
Well, magic to me is though what we talked about with marriage. It's like, it's the co-create your baby. Like again, your baby gets a say in the birth, And I don't know if I'll have another child, so I'll prove it. I'll get to prove it again if I do have another kid. But like I think about my other children, and I look back and I do think I could have chosen to not have painful births. So I don't want to say that it's like a finite thing, but I think about especially my son, like he was posterior and a free birth and quite an intense free birth, and a part of me is like, that's just such his personality to be like intense and backwards, like not backwards literally, like he's a normal bright kid, but like he's just, he's just like
He's got his own way.
He's a kook, yeah. And it's like you needed to do that. Like a part of me knows that was right for like where he needed to be born, and like how he needed to be born and how I needed to birth him for us to have our relationship together. And I also think the future children I birth will probably not need that. I think I can feel something unfolding that's like, that's not now necessary for me. Like he came to help me learn those lessons. The fact that he did that shamanic course with me, I'm like, you are the teacher I needed to learn how to not be a hectic boss bitch.
Your greatest resource.
My greatest resource. I mean, I'm so obviously for children. And I think, you know, if you like Greta, like someone gave birth to Greta, right? Like if you like.
Are you talking Thunberg?
Yeah, I actually don't know her last name. The girl that was on the boat. But like, I don't follow the world very much.
I have been following that, but I will keep my opinions.
But my point, I guess, no, I know, and I'm purposely choosing her because I feel like your audience is probably like, Tahnee. But you know, I guess what I think is like we don't know who our children are going to become. Maybe they will go to jail. Maybe they will become the person that invents the perpetual energy machine and we don't need fossil fuels anymore. Maybe they'll be, you know, the first man to walk on Mars. Like, I don't know. Like, but children in and of themselves remind us of magic, of, you know, the miracle of, like, it's the one remaining miracle, the one remaining unknown frontier to me is like, how do you actually get a baby? Like what, you put a sperm and an egg together in like in a womb and we end up with a human?
Or in a petri dish.
Yeah, but even then it needs to get in a human at the moment. I think it's changing. But even then, like it's such a, they still don't know, like you can't go to IVF and be guaranteed a baby.
No, I think it's got a 20% success rate.
So that's not very good odds, right?
No. And even with, because there is some kind of magic that's involved in the creation of a human.
Yeah, and in the birthing of a human.
And absolutely. So no, it's and that I think,
and in being a human.
Yes, I think that's all come with a bit of age too, because I too went to uni and
did you, darling?
I did. I too went to university.
And here we are.
I know. Talking
Where are our
smack.
degrees?
Can we? I'll just on the roll. But I feel like it's an environment that's very much takes the magic, the spirituality, the essence of what a human is and goes just to the physical. So it is just a sperm and an egg, and any old two could like go together, and then there's a division that happens, and so long as there's enough fuel for it, it'll happen, and then all people are the same. They're all just these blank canvases that, you know, there's no individualistic DNA imprint, though we know that scientifically, but that is cut
Let
off.
alone a soul.
This embryo, this embryo and this embryo, same. Like, and it wasn't until I became a mother a couple of times that I was just like, oh, hang on, like I raised you and you the same. Like I'm probably not, but like very close to, and you're incredibly different people. Like these are all different people, and I look at my friends who have multiple kids, and like they're all absolute individuals. And it's like, oh, okay, there's more than what we see, know, can measure.
Imagine if you wanted to control a population and you created an education system where you tried to tell everyone that there was no difference between any of you and you can all be psychologized and taught and raised the same way. Would you devise a system rather similar to the system that we have?
Pretty sure we can ask AI that at the moment and would get your response. Oh my God. Hey, okay, so last thing, because we did cover pain-free birth friends. And my other questions were actually towards relationship, marriage. I was going to ask motherhood and how we should be creating space for ourselves to be the best mothers we can, but I feel like we don't have time for that anymore. Next session. But I would love.
Let me just put that there and then
and take it away.
She giveth and she taketh.
We'll get to that. But I did want to ask.
Yeah.
Because I know you've just written a little.
What did I write?
I think a Substack article.
I don't have a Substack.
Oh.
Heaven help me.
A newsletter?
I do have a newsletter.
Yeah. On AI.
Have I written a newsletter on AI?
Did you? Maybe it wasn't you.
I don't think it was.
I swear I saw you talk about AI.
I talk about it because I think it's funny.
Yeah, and I think that
everyone's using M dashes that they've never used an M dash before.
It's an M dash.
Yeah, it's that really long dash that joins two ideas within a sentence. So like, say you want to say, I can't think of a sentence right now, my brain's fried, but you know,
AI's using it, but people don't usually use it.
Yeah, like I did journalism at uni, so we were like taught to use it, and I like never use it. It's really hard to get because you have to hit it twice on your keyboard, and then the machine has to be smart enough to turn it into an M dash. So like a normal dash is only.
I did not study journalism, so this is new.
Well, an M is a long letter, right?
Yes.
Whereas an N is a half of an M. So those normal dashes we all see are the size of an N, guys. And then the big long ones that are suddenly everywhere are the size of an M. And they really go try and get one on your phone on your own. Good luck. Good luck with it. You got to hold the little dash down and it pops up. You got to pick it or you got to double do it.
Oh, mate.
Anyway, so they're a pain in the ass to use. So nobody used to use them. But
now everyone's using them.
But now everyone's going to know about the M dash. So.
I've just
ruined it.
We know.
No, but to me, the bit that really gets me is the storytelling style. So it'll be like, I'm self-reflective. This happened to me. But then I came to this conclusion, the da-da-da-da-da, by my website course thing that I'm selling you. and there'll always be like emojis on the little, like, instead of bullet points. And there'll always be, the self-reflective. It really gets to me.
So you've started.
I have a hate list at the moment of people that are using it who are quite well-known influencers, some of them in this area, and I'm like muting you or deleting you until you learn how to use AI properly. I love AI. I actually use it. I used it this morning to get myself out of the house. I talk to it while I'm running around my kitchen. I'm like, these are all the things in my brain that I need you to just like capture and put into categories and lists for me so that I can like compartmentalize them all. And I'll say, I've got to be at Keshia's. I want to go work out before that. I want to get, I have a baby, so I have to get pumped milk out of the freezer, defrost it so that when the nanny comes, she's ready to feed him. I've got to get the kids to the bus by 7:45. I've got this, that. I've got to make dinner because my husband's away, so I'm on my own with 3 kids. I've also got to do marketing for my upcoming workshop. I've got to, reply to these emails. But this is all in my head. So if it's not in, like, and I'm stressing because, I don't actually stress anymore because I'm just like, no, I'm going to get it in ChatGPT and then I check it later. And throughout the day, I just go, yep, got to do that. Yep, got to do that. Got to do that. Got to remember my daughter's got jazz this afternoon. Don't forget that. She's got acupuncture tomorrow. And then it's this running list and I'm like, add that to the kid list. Do this, help me. And it's the best. Like as an assistant, great. If you want to use it for creative work, fine, but teach it how you write first by feeding it as many examples of your work as you possibly can, like hundreds, and then ask it to create like a voice guide or a brand guide or something that you can use as a prompt to get it to mimic your writing style. So say like, analyze my writing style, tell me how I write, give me some samples, teach it, go back, no, that's not good enough, that's not close enough. Talk to it, tell it your verbal style, and then, like be smart, guys, because otherwise you're just going to sound like all these other gooses at the moment. And the thing is, people aren't trained in seeing it yet, so they're not going to like pick it up at the moment, but it's going to start to be, if you're an early adopter and you're using lots of M dash, is good for you because you're getting away with it. But in the next 6 months, everyone's going to be like, hang on a second, and they're going to realize, and then they're going to get pissed off that you weren't authentic because it doesn't sound authentic. And then it's going to lose your credibility. And I just think all you have is your credibility and your reputation.
Well, and in today's day and age where everyone can sound the same, look the same.
It's
nice to be individual.
And look, it is an amazing tool. Like I run a business on my own at the moment, and like I wouldn't be able to do it without. I use 2 different tools. I use ChatGPT on my phone, and then I've got one called Poppy on my desktop, which I kind of use to help. It's like a mind mapping visual kind of thing, which works for my brain to pull ideas together. But I don't ever let it write my content or anything. I will sometimes use it to edit, but I'll give it a prompt like, please act like so I used to work in publishing, so I know like if I'm asking a copy editor to edit something, it's another set of eyes. So I use it the same way. I just say, you're a copy editor at my business and I want you to, as much as possible, retain my tone, even like my syntax. If there's errors in my writing, like around grammar, that's fine. I just want you to check for typos, and I want you to check if I've like used any really glaringly obvious like punctuation problems or something, So I'll use it like that, just so I don't send out something ridiculous. But other than that, I'm like, no, you don't get to touch my I use it to generate ideas when I'm feeling brain dead or exhausted as a mother, and I will often get angry at it, and that will help me get a good idea. So but I because that's what I'll do with my husband. I'll bounce off of him, and if I don't have anyone to bounce off, I can use it for that.
GPT on my new person.
But I'm also like, please don't talk to me like we're friends. You're a robot tool that I use on my phone. Like, and it'll be like, oh my God, babe, that's so crazy.
I'm so glad you've established that boundary.
Seriously, I'm like, people are like talking to it like it's a therapist and stuff I see on the internet. I don't know if that's real.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Look, I have a friend who's like, I'm using AI at this level. He is like, I don't know, psycho level. I don't know what level you could even say. So he uses like 7 or 8 or even 9 page, like A4 page prompts into these machines. Like he's using not ChatGPT, he's using different AI machines. And he reckons that we're like a year away from any degree, like any profession. You'll be able to learn it with AI in like a couple of months, like no time at all. He's like, and it will be able to diagnose even things like Chinese medicine, which has traditionally kind of been a little bit more like esoteric and woo.
How's it gonna like read my pulse?
There's already machines doing it in China.
Really?
Yeah. I'll send you the
Oh, all of this is kind of like
right, because like they're just measuring
like a pain here. It's like a sinking feeling.
My feeling though on this is like, I've always felt like this. And look, there's a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, and he speaks of his teacher, and I read his teacher's book. And his teacher's book, this is Yogananda, and his teacher Yukshatar, I think I'm saying it right. He talks about we're going into Dwapara Yuga, which is the yuga of new energy, new thought. Like, I mean, they didn't know what AI was in those days, but they basically predicted this. They predicted that we were going to have, I think nuclear is going to come back. Like, this is my prediction. I think we're going to see, this massive expansion in the technological realms, because it's the kind of, in some ways it is the natural unfolding of where things are going, because of how humans are this, we're such incredible beings that we are able to kind of separate our consciousness from our physical reality, and like no other species that we know of can do that the way we can do it. Like, it's a really unique gift. It obviously has many perils associated with it, and there will be people that choose peril. There were people that want, I remember talking to my brother, and he's like, I don't mind if it scans my eye when I get on a train. I love that. I don't have to carry my wallet. And I'm like, really? But like, there are people that are like, chill with that. There are people that want to live in a smart city, and they want their fridge to talk to them, and they want, like, I don't know, Siri to, what's the one? Alexa? Oh, anyway. They want the Sky Lord to tell them what to do, There's people that want that. And I believe those people should be able to have that. I don't want that. And I will personally be opting out of as many of those things as I can. And I think there'll be pockets of the world where those of us who want to be not attached to everything will live, and there'll be pockets of the world where the rest, and I do think they're designing that. That's what all these smart city plans are. That's what all these, you go read any of these future plans.
I do feel like rates of ADD and autism and all of that are going to skyrocket.
Yeah, but I mean, that's because we're putting humans in captivity, and like I remember going to Currumbin Sanctuary at 45 minutes north of here and watching a Tasmanian devil do loops. There was literally a track burned into the ground of this poor little dude going around in circles. I'm like, that's what an ADD kid is. Like, that's not a normal Tasmanian devil.
But like
behavior.
adults, so like all the adults that are now being diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, and I think a lot of it is self-diagnosis.
Stimulated. Yeah, but like,
you're constantly being stimulated. You constantly have like, it's on. And if you are constantly connected to like this like Wi-Fi situation where the input is just never ending, I wonder how long that's going to last until it implodes. Although when I say this, and people might be thinking it's quite doomsday-ish, which I also feel that same way, because of the declining population and the fact that we're probably not going to get it back on track in time to create all of this and like keep all of this AI running, the chances of it just kind of fizzling really in the future.
AI? No way, babe.
Mate, there's not going to be enough people to keep running because it still
but that's why
requires
they're making
energy.
wombs, babe. Like that's why they don't want, you know, like I guess like a massive conspiracy theorist in the sense that I'm like, of course they're going to take control of that through population, like the Matrix, you know, like that little, like how many people do we need as a bare minimum to maintain the grid? You know, we're going to have that. Like that's going to be one option.
And everyone stay tuned because we will be going into artificial wombs with a few really big guests in the future. So
I think that's where it's going. But one thing I think is really
they're creating that shit.
Yeah, but I'm like, it's like manifestation, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it can be conceived of, it can be made manifest. So that means that there's a lot of responsibility on those of us who are maybe not interested in those options to be very, 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 very serious about our own energy, our own like capacity to create for actually building the world that we want. Like I see no value in being afraid of any of this stuff. I see absolutely no value in wasting any energy on any of it. I mean, occasionally I tap into it and I'm like, oh, okay, they've made a womb or whatever. Or like, yeah, nuclear's coming back or whatever I saw the other day.
Nuclear energy though, also it's a very clean energy if you can contain it.
Yeah, except for the
whole fact that it like
half-life wastage debacle.
Yes, but if they can find a way to, but it's like, and I learned this at school. It's like this tiny amount of this. It's so clean,
but it does have a very toxic waste.
It does.
Uranium,
and if we can like
literally told the indigenous people of this country not to dig it up. They were like, "Don't dig that up. That's a bad idea." It's
It's
Anyway, look, I kind of sit in this place of like, and I feel like I sound like such a Libra. My old acupuncturist used to call me a fence sitter, but I'm like, it's necessary to power. Like the reason we want a smart city is it keeps all of that electrification in one area. I mean, as someone who's pro like the natural world, as in how it was when humans didn't have phones and shit, like I think smart cities are a great idea. It actually contains all the EMFs and all of the like electrification and the hecticness in one spot. It means that there's less distance for these things to travel. The nuclear reactors will be reasonably close to these places. Like I'm actually like, go for it. Knock yourselves out, you know? It's going to be a lot of fun.
Keep it over there though.
Yeah, but like we'll
be at Steiner over here playing with our sticks and our stones and giving birth out of our vaginas.
But I think, I do
making
think
babies
there will be a
vagina
schism in some, like, look, I already feel a schism when I go to a city where I'm like, wow, I do not participate in this world like normally, like I can go to the supermarket and get a taste of it, but my day-to-day doesn't, I live in such a bubble. And then I go into it and I'm like, wow, like people have so many things and there's so much stress and there's so much going on and noise and Wi-Fi signals. There's so many Wi-Fi signals in the Gold Coast, but I like, that's their choice. And I don't actually think, and even if you're like, oh, but they're not conscious, it's like, but they're choosing to remain unconscious because all of us at some point woke up. Like all of us, none of us were raised. I mean, my parents were probably like alternative by some people's bent, but they weren't crazy alternative. They weren't like Nimbin alternative. They were kind of like Far North Queensland alternative, And I'm sure your parents were probably alternative enough that you could find a way out, through your conditioning and upbringing. And I just think, people choose to, it's a deal with the devil. And if that's the deal they want to make, I think it's fine. But yeah.
On that note,
we should end this podcast.
We should wrap this up. Do you want to let everyone know your course?
Yes.
And any offerings coming up? Keep in mind we're about 6 weeks away from release.
Yeah, that's fine. I pretty much just teach online at the moment. So I do have a course on pain-free birth, which is called Birth Magic, but it's not just on pain-free birth. It's just on the things we discussed today and more of a breakdown of that. So that's just available to register at any time. And we have live calls throughout the year, usually a couple of times So usually monthly-ish or every 6 weeks. And that's just an opportunity to be in the community, talk to other women, ask questions. I only launched it a few weeks ago, probably like a month ago, and I just had my first home birth baby notification the other day. I was so excited.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. But I feel I've made that very accessible. It's not really like my work so much as just something that I wanted to put out into the world. And then my work where I charge money and actually make money is more around yoga. So I teach yoga and Taoism, and I teach it online through different courses. I have an online membership if you just want to explore trying out what yin yoga and Taoism as like a kind of home practice might look like. And then, I kind of teach workshops, and I don't know, we have a business called Super Feast, which I'm very grateful really is where we actually make any money. And the products are amazing. That's why we make money. We're very fortunate to have incredible sourcing, and my husband's just a genius with all that stuff. So and that's probably the other, that's 10% of my life where I sort of am his emotional and mental support person. But that's it. Otherwise I'm with my babies most of the time. And I think people think I do a lot, but I actually work like probably 1 day a week, if that. And I was just saying to a friend yesterday, like I haven't worked. I mean, I guess this is technically work, but I've been like having massages and having lunch dates and playing with my kids. So I'm like, I do need to do some work at some point. But I just, reach out to me on social media is usually easiest at Tahnee Yoga. Otherwise I'm, a distracted mess of a human. As
we all are.
As we all are.
Tahnee, thank you so much for coming in.
You're very welcome,
for educating us and sharing your inner mind's workings, because I love everything you have to say. You always bring a dash of wisdom to the table, and I do always learn something new from you every time. So appreciate you being here. Anyone who has got this far in the podcast, please like, share, subscribe, review. Starting from scratch here, so we're gonna get it back up. Baby. Get it back up. No, but really appreciate your time. It is such a privilege to be here and sharing with everyone again. And we'll see you all next week.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me today. If this ignited a flame for you, please share, follow the show, and leave a review. The more support and subscriptions the show gets, the more powerful and credentialed guests I can bring on to deepen these conversations. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next week.